told your friend you're not okay.
K-pop news exclusive, a small whisper from Taehyung suddenly shook armies around the world. Without a teaser, without any prelude, just silence that turned to hope. On a night no one planned, Taehyung appeared in a way so simple that it felt most meaningful. There were no grand posters, no dramatic tone that usually conveys important announcements. There was just Taehyung, with a calm voice, a soft gaze, and a presence that made the world around him seem to slow down. The night wasn't filled with cheers, but marked by a calm that felt like a new air, something long lost and now returning. At first glance, there were no signs that anything big was happening. No leaked schedule, no news from the company, no visual cues. But ARMY sensed it long before the words came out. There was a subtle change in the way Taehyung sat, the way he breathed, the way he paused before speaking. It was as if this time, he wasn't performing, he was present. And that presence alone was enough to make many hearts flutter. Then the words came out, light yet powerful, "I'm preparing something." There were no details. No explanation. No attempt to embellish. But that's precisely where the meaning lay. Taehyung isn't the type to throw words around without heart. I never toy with fans' expectations. So when he said something was being prepared, ARMY knew it wasn't just a plan, it was a decision born of a long, unseen process. What changed everything was when he mentioned 1 year. That short statement, uttered without any particular emphasis, immediately transformed the atmosphere. ARMY didn't shout, didn't demand, didn't ask for clarification. They simply reminisced, but in that silence, 1,000 emotions were piled up. There was emotion. There was relief. There was confidence. There was a sense that Taehyung had finally put things together in a way that was truly his own choosing. The comments that filled the platform weren't depressing, but touching. "Why do I feel like crying? He sounds peaceful. This is big, even though he's only saying it slowly." And that's what sets this moment apart from all the others. For so long, Taehyung's journey has been in the public eye. Every step, no matter how small, has been commented on. Every achievement, no matter how big, has been celebrated with fanfare. He grew up being watched, and when someone grows up in the constant spotlight, they sometimes forget what it's like to move in silence. But that night, Taehyung showed that he had finally rediscovered his quiet space. If that year was indeed the beginning of something like Taehyung's solo concert, then it wouldn't be just an industry strategy. He had nothing to prove. It wouldn't be about numbers, it wouldn't be about validation, it wouldn't be about standing alone, because he'd already been through it all. This kind of concert would be a form of ownership over himself. A stage designed not to make him look great, but to be honest. A space where he could sing like he was speaking, be silent like he was communicating, and move without being constrained by time. Imagine a stage that didn't try to force magic, but instead brought it about through the silence allowed to grow between notes. No need for over-the-top choreography, no need for explosive effects. Just Taehyung, with a voice that always sounded like it was holding a beautiful secret. Each song felt like a page from his life story, not as a superstar, but as someone rediscovering himself. ARMYs weren't crying because they were promised. They were crying because they heard the tenderness in his voice, a tenderness that only comes when someone finally feels safe. There was a sense of relief, as if a burden he'd never mentioned was now being lifted. Sometimes, his fans didn't need a schedule, but reassurance that their idol was okay. That life no longer felt heavy. That he was speaking not because he had to, but because he wanted to. There was no date, no place, no details. And strangely, none of it was disappointing. Because Taehyung wasn't asking ARMY to wait, he was simply letting them feel his honesty. That was enough. The trust that had been built over the years was now growing silently. ARMY no longer felt the need to shout to show their support. Taehyung no longer felt the need to memorize words to be safe. The relationship had changed, more mature, more tender, more understanding. When the conversation ended that night, Taehyung didn't give any further indication, didn't mention whether he would appear again tomorrow or next week. But strangely, ARMY didn't feel lost. Instead, they felt as if a new door had opened, one that had been tightly shut because Taehyung's life was too full of schedules, demands, and expectations. Now, the door was opening, little by little, just enough to indicate that he was entering a phase of greater self-awareness. In the following days, ARMY didn't push, but watched with gentle eyes. Every photo he posted, every sentence he paused in, every small smile that appeared for no particular reason, all felt like clues that Taehyung was putting his life back together. There was a new maturity in the way he viewed the world, not as a global star, but as someone regaining his inner rhythm. And from there emerged an important lesson, a lesson that can be learned not only by fans, but by anyone who has ever lost themselves amidst the distractions of the world. That stillness is not a sign of stopping. calmness is a sign that someone is beginning to understand where they truly want to go. Taehyung isn't slowing down because of doubt, he's slowing down because a full heart can't be rushed. The creative process doesn't grow from pressure, but from space. And Taehyung is giving himself space to think, space to breathe, space to create something that truly represents him. Some fans noticed this and wrote in the comments, "I feel like he's recovering a part of himself that hasn't been touched in a long time. Maybe this is the first time Taehyung has felt free." When those words came to mind, it all made sense. Because every artist, ultimately, doesn't need the biggest stage, they need the most honest space. And if a solo concert is truly forthcoming, it will be born from this sincerity, not from industry pressure. From here comes the second tip. When someone begins to speak honestly from a place of peace, then whatever they create afterward will carry that same honesty. Taehyung's concert, if it happens, won't be a showcase to prove his abilities. It will be a conversation between an artist who has finally found his peace and the millions who have been waiting for him unconditionally. He will stand on stage not to show a perfect version of himself, but rather a human version of himself, vulnerable, mature, learning, and evolving. And most beautiful of all, ARMY has changed with Taehyung. They are no longer pushy, no longer demanding, no longer measuring love by frequency. They have learned that the greatest support is sometimes an understanding silence. A third tip has emerged. The strongest love is not a loud love, but a love that can be silent when needed, and persist without being asked. Taehyung may not know when he will announce something. It could be next month, it could be the end of the year, it could happen suddenly without warning. But ARMY is no longer walking in panic. They are walking in confidence, confidence that whatever Taehyung has prepared, he will share it at the most opportune time. And in the end, their relationship moved like a river, not rushing, not going against the grain, but following a natural path shaped by time and trust. Taehyung kept going, ARMY kept going, and the journey now had a new rhythm, a rhythm that was quieter yet more honest, softer yet stronger, slower yet more meaningful. Because this is the essence of what happened. When one person finally feels at peace, the world feels at peace with it. And that night, the night Taehyung simply said, "I'm preparing something," had been the beginning of a journey greater than anything officially announced.